All right, hey gents, welcome back to Tactical Rifleman. I want to thank all you patrons out there for supporting the whole Tactical Rifleman nation and helping us keep this thing alive. A lot of work goes into this stuff, and we couldn't do it without our patrons. That's you. So anyways, it's the holiday season, and they call it the holiday season because there's a bunch of back-to-back holidays. Everybody thinks Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas. We've got holidays spread all throughout the year, but they're all kind of bunched together here. So anyways, I figured I'd share just a couple funny little short stories, things that have happened around holidays for me in the military, deployed. Because there are guys overseas right now that are going to be spending Christmas away from their families. One real funny one comes to mind was Desert Storm, dating myself here, Desert Storm, Desert Shield, Thanksgiving. I was with the 101st Airborne, had my sniper team sitting there. We're down in Saudi Arabia getting ready to go into Iraq, and the Vice President, Dick Cheney, comes to visit. Now he was, what was he then? I want to say he was Secretary of Defense. Secretary of Defense back then. And then he had Colin Powell with him. And anyways, these two guys, they come in to visit. We have to have dinner with them in the chow hall. And turns out, Colin Powell, I guess, had been in the same unit or something back prior. Anyways, went back and forth with them for a while. Great, they ate a big Christmas dinner with us. Now, our cooks, because we had VIPs coming from the White House, Cheney and Powell, they went out of the way. They were given a little extra budget. We didn't have to eat just the canned turkey, canned sweet potatoes that everybody else was having. They went out of the way. They brought in frozen turkeys, all this other stuff. Our cooks, we had these big, huge tents, circus tents set up that we were eating in. It was the best deployed Thanksgiving dinner I think I've ever seen. The tables were decorated. They had ice sculpture. Now, middle of the desert, you can't do ice sculpture with ice. So our cooks took raw, like cooking fat, like the grease, big mountains of grease, and melted it all down and made like white swans and to put out on the I'm serious as a heart attack. They had all these decorations, great food. Oh, the turkey was good, everything was good. Anyways, Cheney and Powell stayed till late in the evening. Powell got coined by some of the officers and everything, no big deal. Anyways, they left, and the next day, later that night, was when all the food poisoning set in. Everybody, the entire battalion, and all the VIPs that had visited were combat ineffective. I'm talking glued to the shitter. It was coming out both ends. So I can just imagine Powell and Cheney on their little Learjet flying back to the States, fighting over who could get into the one-seater commode that they had on their plane. Great time. A couple years after that, another favorite holiday of a lot of people is Halloween. I was actually sitting in Bahrain, little country off the coast of Saudi Arabia, and there's actually a U.S. Navy base there. And sitting at a picnic table, eating ice cream, listening to the radio, and one of the sailors sitting at the table with me, he was telling me how he had flown straight in there, but his wife was on their boat, the USS Cole, and it was getting ready to come into harbor here in a day or so, and he was looking forward to seeing his wife. About that time, it came over the radio that the USS Cole had just been bombed. Some monkeys had drove a boat full of explosives up next to it, blew a hole in it. I never did find out if this sailor's wife was okay or not. I'm assuming she was. But anyways, we were in Bahrain training with the Bahraini counter-terrorist units, but we were staying in. Anyways, I won't get into the whole specifics, but we were allowed to go out to the bars and everything. But we would go to the Navy base to use the gymnasium, use their PX, buy alcohol. They're a lot cheaper than downtown. But we heard that, this Halloween, the base was on a lockdown. The problem, though, is it's such a small base that most of the people that live on the base, because they're there for a year or plus, they had their families with them. They were all living downtown, off base. There was a little Americanized school that all their kids went to, and all the soccer moms are in Bahrain, driving their kids to school, picking them up. So anyways, they were going to have they'd already been planning this big Halloween party on the naval base, and they were going to have all the trick-or-treating stuff and the kids and bands and everything else, and all the soccer moms were bringing their kids in there with their costumes, and the cute kids doing their little Halloween costumes. Well, we were standing around there, we're the only ones not in costume, except for the Marine Guards, because they were all at StressCon Charlie. They were being crazy about everything. Getting in and out of the base was a pain in the neck. But we weren't allowed into this party unless we were wearing costumes. That included the adults. So, okay, Carl needs to come up with a costume. So, okay, what does Carl have in the SUV? We've been out at the sniper range all day long. So I went out and I got 2 of our cardboard silhouettes with a paper target on the front of it and poked some holes, put one on the front of me, one on the back, ring strings over the shoulders, and I walked up to the Marine Guard at the front of the party, and there's a couple soccer moms standing there and stuff, and he's like, "What costume is that?" I'm like, "I'm an American in the Middle East. I'm a terrorist target." I thought it was funny. Anyways, I didn't think it was too funny. I wore it the whole evening. Got some trick-or-treat candy, lots of beer and other great food. And anyways, lots of fun holidays. Holidays aren't just about having fun. Probably my favorite Christmas ever deployed was during the initial invasion of Afghanistan, so it would have been December 2001. We had just got into Kandahar and just got in there. The Marines had the place secured. There was no buildings, not like it is now. Now it's built up. Kandahar's got a Burger King, Taco Bell, all that stuff. But back then, literally the Air Force had just got done bombing this thing with AC-130 Spectre gunships. So you had old MiGs crumpled up on the runway and minefields and all this other stuff. The Marines had tents. We didn't have any tents, so we brought our little North Face dome tents, and it was cold. It was cold. It was basically combat camping. You had your little North Face dome tent, and you'd get up in the morning, you'd put your canteen cup into the coals left over from the night prior. There's a big Russian hospital there, built by the Russians, and there was a big water fountain. Well, there's no water in it, obviously, so that kind of the concrete wall around it, that's where we would build our fire. And you get up in the morning, you stick your cup of water in there to heat your coffee, and you'd go grab some chunks of wood off of the bombed out buildings, stick it in there, get the fire going so you could warm up. And that was how your day started. Well, we started hunting around, and there was, like I said, these are all bombed out Russian-built buildings on the airfield. Well, we found a little hallway, had cover on, so we wouldn't have to sleep in tents, and we laid out our inflatable Thermarest pads and our mummy sleeping bags, and we had all our gear. That's it. That's like we were living out of our rucksacks. We're sitting there, and anyways, we literally just got there. We didn't have much gear, no PX, no stores, no chow hall was even set up yet. The Marines were eating nothing but MREs. And an MC-130 came in, a resupply plane, just drop off stuff, no big deal. And sitting there, and it's Christmas Eve. Everybody's fighting over using the Iridium phone so that they could call home. You get 5 minutes to call your family. We had one phone per, it was like every A team, every 2 A teams. That was going to be like the highlight of our night, getting to talk to our families. And then the company sergeant major walked in, and he had big yellow mail bags that had come in on that big cargo plane. It had been dropping off ammo and fuel and everything else, and we were not expecting mail at all. And I got a package, cardboard box that had been put together by my wife, my aunt, my mother-in-law, and they had smoked salmon, crackers, summer sausage, all this. I mean, this thing was packed to the gills. There was enough for everybody on my team. And you remember, we'd been eating nothing but MREs the whole time. And this was Christmas Eve. Somebody found some Christmas music playing on the radio station that the Navy was broadcasting off the coast, off of one of the aircraft carriers. And so we had Christmas music playing. Smoked salmon never tastes so good in your whole life. And anyway, to this day, that is my most memorable Christmas Eve, hands down. We were not expecting Santa with his MC-130 sleigh to show with such a good-looking bag of presents. So that was awesome. So anyways, if you're thinking about sending care packages to guys overseas, it really does make a difference. Another Christmas, you see, and get a little teary-eyed. Another great Christmas that I had was actually in, I want to say it was 2006, 2000 time frame. We were with the Iraqi counterterrorist force working out of Raptor Base, Task Force Raptor in Baghdad. And what it is big army was running Iraq at the time. They had like 193,000 Green Berets, or not 193,000 soldiers, sailors, airmen, everything in the country, not counting all the contractors and shit, crazy. Americans were everywhere. The Iraqi military was pretty well worthless, except for this one group that 5th Special Forces Group and 3rd Special Forces Group had started up, the SIF companies. We created what was called the Iraqi Counterterrorist Force, and who were like the Iraqi version of Delta. And then to support them, we had the 36 Commando, which were like the Ranger battalions in the U.S. Now, they were all led by American Green Berets, trained by American Green Berets, and we're supposed to be advising them, but the first few years, it was us leading them. It was literally the first 4 guys through the door were always the Americans. Explosive breaching had to be done by the Americans. These guys were awesome, though. I mean, completely outfitted to be the national asset. Paraclete body armor, M4 rifles with aim points on them, PQ2 lasers and illuminators, surefire weapon lights, PVS-7, PVS-14 night vision goggles on their Mitch helmets, Berettas with weapon lights on them. Their snipers had M24 sniper weapon systems with PVS-10 day-night scopes. They were outfitted with American equipment and trained to a higher standard. A lot of times they had better equipment than our U.S. military units had. Before you get mad, this was the national asset for Iraq. And these were the guys we were working with. Gun trucks loaded to the gills with guns, and we would lead these guys out on raids. And they got a great reputation for accomplishing the mission, getting things done. If a unit, didn't matter if it was Delta, didn't matter if it was 25th ID or some CAV unit, if they chased the bad guys into a mosque, if the Americans hit the mosque, no matter if you caught the bad guy or not, Al Jazeera and the locals were going to say that the Americans destroyed the mosque. So it's bad for publicity. So they would chase the guy in. If the bad guy went into the mosque, they would wait, surround the place, and they'd get on the horn and they'd say, hey, Task Force Raptor, can you guys come do this? So we'd load up on helicopters or drive on the Humvees, depending on where it was. And these guys would go out there. Great success rate. They always caught their guys, always, because they had the American Green Berets leading them. So when it came to SIGINT targeting the guys' cell phones, or human targeting using human sources or intel from other networks, we were great at supporting them because we could bring Predator drones to do oversight, watching the targets. We could bring Inspector gunships. We had the electronic jamming bubbles on our vehicles to protect everybody, protect all the Americans. In turn, we're protecting the Iraqis. So it was great success rate. And it got to the point where if the coalition units had any hard target at all, they'd give it to Task Force Raptor. Well, okay, that makes sense. Make the Iraqis fight for Iraq. Completely good with that, completely. And more business for the Green Berets. And we had a SEAL platoon attached to us, and Air Force guys, and Navy EOD. A great unit. That's why it was called a task force. Task Force Raptor was awesome. We always had a good time. It would spike around holiday season. Come about Thanksgiving, there were American conventional units that would stop letting their guys go outside the wire. Now remember, their job is to own battle space. These commanders would get given whole sections of a country, and their job was to patrol, presence patrols, but also interact with all the locals, find out where the bad guys are, and keep pressure on the bad guys. But in turn, it's war, people. American casualties happen, wounded, and deaths. Sucks. So anyway, some commanders took it upon themselves that they did not want to have to write any letters home to any moms during the holiday season. Basically what I'm saying is, because they didn't want to have any American casualties during the holiday season, what these guys would do, these commanders, now these are the guys in charge, they're supposed to be fighting a war, they would not do any presence patrols at all from basically Thanksgiving through the New Year, because they didn't want any of their soldiers to die on Christmas Day. Okay, I understand it. My mom would feel the same way. That's why my mom didn't join the military, people. Right? You have to keep pressure on the bad guys. Now, when they stop doing their presence patrols, the bad guys, what do when all of a sudden they don't see any conventional military? Oh, they went running crazy. They just go all over the place. Increased rocket attacks, increased mortar attacks, dig more roadside bombs. But anyways, there was still intel coming in, right? But now these intel guys would say, hey, we know where the number 3 guy on our list is. We know where he's at right now. Can we go get him? And the commander would say, nope, nobody going outside the wire. Well, that sucks. So what all these intel groups from all these other conventional units would do, they would call Task Force Raptor. Hey, Task Force Raptor, we know where guy number 40 on the national list is. You guys want to go after him? He's right outside your fence. Why don't you go get him? Our commander won't let us. Okay, 3-hour helicopter ride, we'll be right there. So anyways, Task Force Raptor was always really busy around the holiday season. We captured lots and lots of bad guys. It was awesome. Anyways, we had this one Christmas Eve. They did a couple ops that one night, Christmas Eve. They launched on a couple different ops. I only went on one of them. That 4-month deployment, we did 122 combat operations in 120 days. That's pretty high op tempo. It was awesome. Anyways, that particular year, I wasn't supposed to go out that night, but the assault troop that was gonna go out, they're like, hey Carl, would you mind manning the minigun, which is gonna be a big hit. We're taking both gun trucks, both miniguns were going, big convoy of vehicles. Iraqi Humvees, the ones that they're riding on, they usually have a 50 caliber top and then 4 240 machine guns, 2 at the back doors and 2 on the back corners of the vehicles. Americans driving and Americans TCing, sometimes Americans gunning. It depends. Once the Iraqis started getting more and more of their own vehicles, we had them driving and gunning. But the lead vehicle, the recce vehicle, the one doing land nav, was always an American driver, American TC, and American behind the minigun up top. So anyways, we're all out in the parking lot, Christmas Eve. We got all these big care packages laying around. When the Air Force sends a care package, they send tons of stuff. They send razors, beef jerky, soap, toothbrushes, everything, great stuff. But they send tampons, cotton balls, all kinds of stuff. It's just, these care packages are big. You get like 1 per 50 guys. It's freaking, we got stacks of care packages. We're loading up on the vehicles. I already went and test fired the minigun, and my guy Jim Franklin, big fat rat bastard, old guy. He's probably 40 years old at the time. Looked like he's about 70. Old Green Beret, just come back from the schoolhouse. They shouldn't have put him in our unit, but they did. So he never went to Sephardic, but he's a great guy. He's a good engineer, good at accountability, and he can man a gun. So I look over at the other Humvee that's got the other minigun on it. Jim Franklin's behind the other minigun. And I look over, and Jim thought it would be funny. He's got his Santa hat on behind a minigun, and he put his Santa hat on, big smile on his face. That's funny, right? So we're loading up, getting ready to put my body armor on. I remembered the care packages. So anyways, hey, hold on, we're not leaving yet. I got off, I ran all the way back inside, dug through all the care packages, come running back out with a pile of stuff in my arms, body armor, go and jump up onto the hood of the Humvee, climb up there, go over the shield of the minigun, and Jim's looking at me like, Carl, what are you doing? Stand still. And I pull out all these cotton balls. Now, Jim's in tan body armor, bunch of mags on the front. It's behind a minigun, the garden hose of death, 3,000 rounds a minute, wearing a Santa hat. And I take all these cotton balls and stick them all over his face and make this big white beard. And I'm telling you, Combat Santa never looked so good at all. It was just awesome. One of the fondest memories I ever have. Got to see if I can dig up the picture. You know, that's one picture I do not have hanging up in here. I got to find it. Thanks for reminding me. That nice little flashback there. Anyways, rolled out that night. Didn't fire a single bullet. Scared to shit the whole time. That's the standard. You ride along, the fog was set in, sitting on target while the guys were inside pulling security outside. The SEALs had one of their UAVs up, a small one. They were bored, so they kept buzzing us. They'd call us on the radio. They'd say, hey, Santa's getting ready to come by. Be on the lookout for him. And we're like, Santa. At that time, they look up in the air, and it's like a... and all of a sudden, this UAV comes by through the fog at about a little over rooftop level. There are no trees there. Funny shit. Santa was in a 40-pound UAV. But funny shit. There's stuff like that just makes holidays all the more memorable. Yeah, funny stuff. The sad part about it is that was Christmas Eve. Come after the first of the year, the end of the holiday season, all those coalition units, their commanders that wouldn't let them go outside the wire, would now let their troops go outside the wire, except from Thanksgiving through 1 January, all the bad guys had been burying roadside bombs in those areas. And as soon as coalition started bringing their Humvee convoys out again, lots of American casualties the beginning of January, all because they didn't keep pressure on the enemy. learn from their mistakes. Sad. You think Mama really cares whether she got her gold star and her folded American flag on 23 December or 3 January? She still got an American flag and a gold star. Doesn't matter. Do the right thing. Keep your guys alive by taking the fight to the enemy. Anyways, shit happens. Americans have a lot of holidays besides just the ones you see on the calendar. One of our biggest holidays is Super Bowl. We had this one Super Bowl in same place Iraq, Task Force Raptor. I believe it was 2009. I think I already told the patrons about that Super Bowl party. Long story short, you got General Order number 1 that says no drinking alcohol in theater. Well, the general in Iraq made an exception, said 2 beers for each soldier in country while they watch the Super Bowl. Well, my guy went to go pick up our beer and brought it down because my little base was separate. Task Force Raptor was with the Iraqis, but our commander, where all the Americans were, my boss, my command sergeant major, sent some warrant officer down to confiscate all our beer. I went to go ask him why. He said if we wanted to drink it, we had to drink it at his party. I said, nope, we're not going up there. We're doing our own party at Task Force Raptor. So he said, well, you do it without my beer. Okay, fine. No big deal. Word spread that Sergeant Major Erickson needed beer. So there's the Green Beret Foundation in the Green Zone. They showed up with a pickup truck full of beers, the Heineken 1-pounders. I think I told them I had 80 guys, so they brought me 4 per guy. Other units started giving us stuff. Hard alcohol started showing up. So anyways, we threw the mother of all Super Bowl parties. And I didn't want my guys getting DUIs and stuff, so we canceled combat ops for the night. I went and locked the gate to Task Force Raptor. I actually backed my Sergeant Major SUV right up against it, took the keys, and left. And all my guys had all the finger foods. They had a 1-eye projector projecting on the side of the building. We took all the pallets. We had a bonfire so big you could see it from the International Space Station. Music playing. All the Air Force girls were brought in from the hospital. I told them, I was like, look, you come in, just understand I'm locking the gate. You're spending the night. They were completely good with that. We throw a great party. Well, I get up the next morning and there's a stack of messages from me. Apparently the command sergeant major had been trying to call me all night long. Okay, I'm busy, I'm running a party. When I wouldn't answer any of his calls, he drove down, pissed off, to chew my ass, him and the colonel. And I guess they were banging on the gate. Nobody could hear. He could see the fire over the top of the 12-foot tall wall. Nobody would open the gate for him. They couldn't because I was the only one that had the keys. So he finally left. The last message was, come to my office. Okay, no big deal. So anyways, I went, unlocked the gate, moved my SUV out of the way, let about a dozen Air Force girls with bed hair go walking out through the gate, all with smiles on their faces. And then we loaded up and I drove up to the hill to meet the command sergeant major, take my ass chewing. I got up there and he said that he had been stewing all night long, unable to sleep, about how he was going to chew my ass. And like, okay, here it comes. And then he looked at me and he said, yours was the only unit that did not have an alcohol-related incident last night. All the rest of my units got DUIs, things like that. How do you get a DUI in a combat zone? They were doing it. The MPs were out there. So anyways, my guys didn't have any problems because we did the right thing. So anyways, great party, awesome party. I don't even remember who was playing. All I know is the food, mini pizzas, hot wings, everything. It was so good. I had my company commander give our cook a Impact Army Commendation Medal for doing such a great job. The guy got a medal for it. It's awesome. Middle of a combat zone. best party, great American holiday. Now, you know, there are lots of other holidays that are a big deal here in the U.S. One of them is Memorial Day. It's the last Monday in May. It marks the beginning of summer here in the United States. Everybody looks forward to it. Like I go camping and off-roading at the local off-roading park with my Jeep and buddies and stuff. But a lot of people forget that Memorial Day is a time where you're supposed to go visit the local memorials around you and honor the veterans that have died in former wars and conflict. It's not about thanking a veteran that's serving right now. It's about paying honor and respect to the guys that have actually died protecting your freedom. Where it sinks in for me is when I first got the 5th Special Forces Group, we have our big parade field where we do all our change of command ceremonies and stuff. And when I first got the 5th Group in, I want to say it was 93, there was one row of trees down one edge of the field. And they planted a new tree every time a American Green Beret from 5th Group had died since they moved from Fort Bragg to Fort Campbell. I want to say it was 1990, 89, 90 time frame. They had one row of trees, I think part of another row. Most of them had been killed in a halo training accident. The guys set their altimeters wrong, and before they all could open their parachutes, they all got hit in the face with a planet. But that was when I got there. The last time I went to a Gold Star ceremony, we do it once a year in June to let the Gold Star families come back and mourn their lost family members. And we also plant new trees for all the new Green Berets that have died from 5th Group. Not just Green Berets, anybody that was attached to 5th Group. Guys, there's so many rows of trees down that side of the field that they had to start planting them on the other side now too. And they've even got them across the back. And I know some of the guys that those trees are planted for. One guy, Marcus Foster, black guy, hilarious, one of the best swimmers I ever met. All that bullshit, black guys can't swim. Marcus, a guy was a lifeguard. Marcus was just awesome guy. Anyways, those trees have so many faces on them. So, guys ask me about my fruit tree orchard out behind the hill here. I got 193 fruit trees in my fruit tree orchard. And that's a weird number, isn't it? Anyways, I've got a lot more fruit trees to plant. And so anyways, next time you're doing Memorial Day, or next time you see one of those fields with the big marker and there's rows of trees planted, that's not an Arbor Day Foundation thing. It's not a Johnny Appleseed thing. It's not a tree hugger save the planet thing. Now, they don't do anything for you. They act like they do. They act like they're hugging the planet. They're not doing anything for you. The guys doing things for you are the guys wearing the uniform overseas right now that are not asking for a thank you. So anyways, that's Memorial Day. We just had another one go by here, Veterans Day. That's 11 November. It actually commemorates the end of World War I, the war to end all wars, because we weren't gonna fight anymore after World War I. That's what we were supposed to do. It's human nature. There will always be human beings killing human beings. Acting like you're going to take away guns is going to stop that. It doesn't work like that. We are mammals just like everybody else, and primates, and we will kill each other. It's in our nature. It's just what we do. We've actually been in Afghanistan longer than World War I and World War II put together. Another holiday we just had go past a few days ago. A lot of people don't think of it as a holiday. December 7th, it marks the anniversary of the Japanese sneak attack on Pearl Harbor, what pushed the U.S. into World War II. The U.S. was already going to get into World War II. It was going to happen. It was inevitable. Sneak attack, great move tactically, not a very smart move strategically, because they brought the whole wrath of the United States down on them. And that's a big bucket of whoop ass right there that they shouldn't have opened. Anyways, a lot of people don't think of December 7th as a holiday. I took my family out to the Arizona Memorial in Pearl Harbor. We rode out there on the little boat, and it's a very somber, very quiet visit to a World War II memorial. If you ever get a chance to go to Hawaii to go on vacation, I encourage you to take your families there. So anyways, what's your favorite holiday? Mine is actually Thanksgiving, of all things. I like good food. The reason why Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday, why did they do it? Pilgrims, they just had a rough winter. Lots of people dying. The Indians saved their asses, and they were just thankful to be alive. And it has since grown into a holiday, good food, family and friends, and that's why I like Thanksgiving. I throw a big spread here, and I surround myself with family, yes, but I also bring in friends. I had some patrons here. I had Keith Gipple here. Would have had everybody here if I could have. Would have had all of y'all if you were around. I had 19 people in my living room all eating at the same time. It was awesome. I'm thankful for friends and family. I'm just thankful for being alive. I really am. So while you're out there looking at all this holiday season, all great stuff, presents under the tree, all that stuff, remember that there are Special Operations Forces Green Berets that are in over 60 countries tonight. They will be in over 60 countries Christmas Eve. So while you're out there drinking and partying, hoist one for the guys overseas that are in harm's way, because I know I'm going to do it. Anyways, that's this month's story time with Carl. Month of December. Hope you all got something out of it. Sorry, no great war stories, just me venting a little bit. Look forward to seeing you all in a couple weeks when we do the live stream video. Talk to you all then, face to face. Y'all take care. You know the deal. Shoot straight, strength and honor.